Lovely, and we're actually live, Aron. Welcome.
Hey!
Welcome to our new show. Let's have a look at Aron because I want him to explain his new setup. It's looking amazing, guys.
Thanks, man. So, yeah, hello, everybody in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. And just got some, last week, I think you guys seen my set. I was kind of getting it prepared. It's still a little bit of work in progress, but the audio should sound a lot better. The quality should be a lot better because I'm using an XT3 with a 16 millimeter f1.4 lens. So it's a nice wide lens. So I've got more space here, and I changed the lights out. I was using an like a 42-inch octabox on the left, but even with the grid, it was just throwing too much light on the back. So now I've got a fluorescent strip panel with tungsten bulbs and some black, what do you call those? I forget what you call them. Flags, so it doesn't shine on the back wall, so it keeps it kind of moody and kind of cool. So, yeah, I'm glad you like it. Hopefully it works out and sounds good.
Looks very, very classy. Look at yours. This is the difference between you and me. So yours is very, very clean and sexy, and mine's just got technology all over the place.
You got tech. I got tech everywhere, but it's all tucked underneath everywhere.
I love it.
That's too funny.
So let's say hello to a few people that are coming in here. We're obviously in pre-show at the moment, guys. We're not starting for another 10 minutes. We've got Also in here. Oreo can't make it. Too sleepy already. He was here at about half an hour ago, and he's gone to bed, I think. But he did give it a thumbs up as a blank sign. I love it.
Oh, good.
Chris is also in here. Mike saying, hey, David and everyone. Alvario is saying hi. Sorry, guys, too. My voice is still husky. I've still got a bit of bronchitis. It's much better than what it was. So if I do cough, there's nothing I can do about it. Alvario is saying hi. Dutch Productions saying good morning. Aron obviously is saying hi. Altrix also saying hello, everyone. Philip is saying checking in. The 11th can't get here any quicker. He's going to talk about. We're going to talk about that as the first story. Actually, that's the a7iii. Langston said, "Oh snap! Really like Aron's lighting. I know he's putting me to shame. I don't know these video guys."
Yeah, I'm a video guy, so I'm very video centric. Even though my YouTube channel has been suffering in quality over the last few years, I finally said, you know, I got to just get back into how I used to have it and just up the quality a little bit for you guys. So here we are. Thanks for liking it.
Now you're going to make me spend some money, Aron. You know, I've just got to uplift the production values.
Yeah, I didn't spend no money. It's just stuff I have laying around. I'm good at using junk I've got laying around.
Who else have we got in here? So Dutch Production saying, g'day, Aron. Ben is saying,
hello.
Woohoo, finally made it live. G'day, Ben. Good to see you in here. Donald's saying hello from Texas. Altrix also saying it should be called the DNA show.
Hey, Gilbert. Hello.
Billy is saying,
what's
DNA? What does that mean? I'm not sure. Billy's saying hi, glad to catch you live. Langston saying evening. David and Aron from sunny Los Angeles. I'm going to be there. I've booked my airline tickets, guys. I'm actually flying into hopefully it's sunny LA
on
the 10th of January.
Hey, Delaware.
10th of February, actually. I'm flying in. So I'll see you all there on the 10th. We're probably going to stay for 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Richard saying hi. Gilbert saying, g'day, Gilbert. How are you? Good to see you in here live.
So is my camera switching even though I don't see it in our Hangout switching?
Yep, certainly is.
Okay, cool. Because in the Hangouts, it never switches. So
no.
Okay.
Yeah, you are switching. Raymond saying hello from Delaware. Scott said drinking a warm whiskey with raw egg for your throat. Yeah, it's too early. It's only 10 o'clock, 5 to 10 for me in the morning. So it's a bit early for me to having a real coffee. So I am drinking real coffee.
Hey, June from Beaufort, Georgia. Hey, June, how are you? That's my mom, by the way, David.
Hi.
Yeah, June States. Mom is in the house.
Woohoo! Good to see you
Thanks
here.
for stopping by, Mom.
So where's June? I can't even see her. Where did she? Oh, she's down the bottom.
At the very bottom, yeah. She just popped in.
So where's Beaufort, GA?
Beaufort, Georgia. That's if you know where Florida is, it's easy to pick that out. If you go up north, you go through Florida, and then you hit into Georgia, and then if you keep driving, you go through Atlanta, and then you hit a small old historic town of Beaufort, Georgia. Love that place.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Mike saying hi.
Hey, Mike.
Also saying, you're cracking a stubby. No, not this early. I'll crack a stubby with you on Friday. The thing is, guys, we've just had daylight savings finish. So for me, it's an hour earlier than you guys. So normally we go on and it's 11 o'clock my time, but now it's 10. You guys have changed daylight savings as well, and so have we now. So it's 2 hours difference than when we first started this a few weeks ago, which is quite funny.
Yeah, we don't have daylight savings here, so it's just like always the same.
Oh, okay.
Everybody else is changing around us. We
Demetrius
are 6 minutes into the pre-show.
Demetrius said 2:53 Greece, going to bed now. Great stuff as always. Will you be able to catch the live repeat later? Dutch, let me just show that. Dutch said, don't spend any more money, David will kill you. I just have. I've actually just bought a Sigma 1635.
Hey, Tony from Spain, how are you?
G'day, Tony. This was actually sent to me, well, when I did my, and we're going to talk about that, I think, soon, but when I had my YouTube celebration in Melbourne the other day, one of my subscribers brought this in for me to actually use for a couple of weeks. And since I've tried it so much, I loved it. And so I've bought one, and it may be coming today. So if I run out to the door, it's because the deliveries come to the door, but I'll talk about that soon.
Very cool.
Tony Ben is saying, hey, Mum. Joanne is saying, hope I didn't miss the Sony version 3 update. No, we haven't even started yet, Joanne. That's going to happen shortly in another 4 minutes. Tony's also saying 2 a.m. here in Spain. Isn't this... How good is this system? I mean, we're talking with people from all around the world.
Like live. That is just the coolest thing. I mean... I just can't get enough of it. That's why when we come on here every Tuesday, it's just I'm really excited to talk with you from Australia and then all these other people in Spain. It's like really, really, really cool. I love it.
I laugh at Tim. Tim is saying, hi, Aaron and David, get the important stuff in for the next 30 minutes, then I'm back to work. Sorry, Tim, it just doesn't work that way, mate. You know what we're like.
Yeah. You just got to hang in there, buddy.
Joanne said 7 p.m. here in Louisiana, you know, and this is the funny thing. Everyone is different time zones. I'm surprised Gilbert's on. What time is it in the UK? Let me just check. Well, 12:57. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning for Gilbert. Tony said, David and Aaron, are you planning coming to Europe at any point? Yes, Tony, definitely. I'm hoping to come out late next year. To Europe to meet all of you guys, seeing I'm doing the US early in February. But then I'm hoping later in the year to come to Europe. If it's not later in the year, it will definitely be early in the following year. So, yes, definitely going to come out and meet you guys as well.
Yeah, and we already did 2 European trips just several months ago, so we probably won't be going this year. But when we do, we probably will announce it, so people and our friends in Europe might be able to meet us, because I've actually posted some photos in Germany and other places, and I've actually had people say, "Oh my gosh, that's right down the street from me. Let me know next time you come." So yeah, we should announce that so we can meet some of you guys and walk around and do some photos, maybe.
Yeah, fantastic. What else have we got? Triple M said the important stuff is what is David drinking? I am drinking real coffee today, guys. It's too early in the morning for me to be drinking the other stuff.
Oh.
I will have a drink with you on Friday. Yes, Aaron, you've got to bring yours up, but we'll wait till the show starts in a minute.
Okay, yeah, we didn't start yet. What time is it?
We've got another minute to go.
I'm the time guy. I'm supposed to pay attention to this
Gene
stuff.
says, Jim said, g'day, Jim. Jim said, pray that Kerry doesn't get the door before you. Kerry's at work, Jim, so she won't know until we get the visa bill coming up.
Oh, my gosh. Good luck. Maybe you just get the eye rolls like before and you buy her some flowers and done.
We've still got the 135 issue yet that I'm going to go and have a look at. That's going to be another one that will probably...
Gosh.
Brendan said, liking Hangouts and how it's working, much nicer. Yeah, I agree. We're enjoying this.
Oh, it was so easy. I mean, we get together a couple minutes before the show, and before we're testing and things are going wonky here, we just turned it on and it just worked. So yeah, we'll probably just keep it like this for a while. It's Pretty nice.
Now, before we go to the show, I'll just answer a couple of these last ones. Ian said, saw the Alan video, brilliant gadget. I know. How good is that little Alan battery charger? And it's incredible. If you haven't looked at it, check my last video out. They did send it to me, so I haven't paid for it, but I would have bought it after looking at what I'd actually seen, because it's
cool.
Fantastic. And Dana said, sorry I'm late, but I was watching Aron's latest Fujifilm video on YouTube. Well, thanks, because Aron is not far off 10,000 subscribers, guys.
Yes,
I'm going to get him there. And it's a big deal, Aron. It is. I was so rapt when I got to 10.
Yeah, I know it's a big deal when you hit that 10, and then of course you're on 20 now. It's really exciting. So hopefully I hit that 10 pretty soon. And thanks for watching that video. It's about raw processing Fuji raw photos in different programs to see how they work out. Someone else asked me a question. Did I see it's scrolled up already. What are your thoughts on the content aware video from Adobe? Langston, I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, yeah, saw that. It's the same as using content aware for Photoshop. You know how you can just circle an object and then it takes it out? Well, they've developed one for video. So that's what that does, and apparently it works very, very well. So if you had a person in the video that you wanted to get rid of, that application can just get rid of it.
Oh, that's really weird. I'll have to look into that. One program I used use a lot is called Mocha, and you could just do all kinds of the same program they used to like take out cables when they're doing special effects and stuff. So yeah, if it's built into Adobe, or is it built into an Adobe, or is it a special program?
It's what's the video one that you use? There's
After Effects?
Premiere. Yeah, it's in After Effects. So I think you have to have After Effects. I don't take that. I've only got the photographic example of, I've only got Lightroom and Photoshop. I'm not paying for the video side because I use Final Cut. So I don't need that. So I haven't got access to that, unfortunately.
I will check it out.
All right. So we're going to start the broadcast because it's 10:02. And we're 2 minutes late. Like, we can't, the only thing we've got to work out is we can't play the lovely introduction videos that we had before because we can't seem to get that to work, but
we'll figure it out.
Yep. So we're going to start the show full on now. So hi everyone. We're back for our weekly behind the photo show, obviously, with Aron.
Indeed. Hello everybody. Thank you for stopping by.
Have a look at Aron's amazing set. He's using his Fuji camera.
Fuji X-T3 with the Fujinon 16mm f1.4 at f1.4 to give us a little bokeh back there. We changed my lights. We're using just a from Home Depot fluorescent bulb up there with some flags so it doesn't hit off the back there. Same microphone, but now everything is going into the camera and then into a Cam Link 4K or whatever it's called. And then I'm using these little Sony Bluetooth wireless. They're made for a lav mic, and it sends it to the camera Bluetooth. But how I'm using it is all the audio coming from the computer is coming to this and then into my ear. So me and David, I can hear David, and I don't have all the stuff on, and I can move around a little freer, you know. So yeah, that's my new little setup, and I think the lighting looks pretty cozy back there.
Yeah, you're showing me up, that's for sure. Now, with a couple of, well, one exciting thing I can actually announce. I can't tell you yet who it's through, but I have had a discussion this morning with a rep from a very large company here in Australia that hopefully I'm going to be able to get some review gear off for things like Sigma lenses and things like that. So stay tuned for that. I won't mention much more about that at this stage until we get things all nutted out, but that looks like it's going to be a great partnership that we can work together with. So stay tuned for that one. Obviously, I've just hit the 20,000 subscribers. I know. How good was it? I had a meetup in Melbourne, Aron, on Saturday night, and it was incredible. We got around about 30 people showed up on the evening, and we had a couple of amazing models there, and I set up some lighting for people and things like that. I'm going to show one of those images later. And then everyone was taking their photos, and then we all went out for a coffee, of course, and a pizza afterwards, and we had such a great time. And that's one of the great things about this whole community that we have here, and I like to give things back as well. So that was just a free meetup, and I'm going to start doing a few of these, I think. I also am going to obviously meet all of you US people, hopefully a lot of you when I come over there. I'm going to plan to do some shoots with you again, and there'll be no cost involved because I can't charge anything because I wouldn't get a visa. So we'll be having meetups there, and obviously at WPPI we'll also be having some shooting meetups there as well. So I really can't wait to basically join you all. I've just got to find some accommodation. The Aussie dollar sucks at the moment, and it's going to cost me a fortune to stay over there. So I'm looking for some places to stay. So if anyone knows any reasonable places in LA that don't cost a fortune, please contact me to let me know where they are. So that hopefully I can find somewhere nice. At least I've got a bit of time before I have to decide where to go.
That sounds really exciting. What was I going to say when you were talking there? Which area was you going to?
Well, that's the thing. At this stage, all I know is that I'm flying into LA on the 10th of February. And then we'll be staying for the 3 to 4 weeks from that point. Part of that, though, is also going to WPPI in Vegas, which I think starts on the 25th or something like that. So I've got a week where I'm staying in Vegas as well. So, yeah, just looking forward to it. So probably around LA, but, you know, I'm not sure yet where I'd like to what I'd like to do. So, you know, we'll have to work out what we're going to do. Obviously, I'm going to go to Disneyland and all those sort of places, do this typical touristy things.
That's fun, though. That's exciting stuff. I lived there for 18 years. So, yeah. Yep, that's my old stomping grounds. That would be cool if I could go to PPI with you guys. That'd be really, really interesting. But we'll keep that idea open, that's for sure.
Yeah, we can have a big meetup. So we've got a stack of people watching. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start on the first story of the day, which is going to be talking about the latest release for the a7iii and the a7R3. That's the update that recently the Sony A9 got. Well, it's a similar update that came out, and I'll switch to this in a minute. But yeah, it's fantastic. Look, I've been using that A9 update now for a couple of weeks, and I used it in 2 shoots. I've done a modeling shoot, and also I used it and showed people when we had that meetup the other day. And it is absolutely incredible how much that has lifted the A9. I was showing Ben, for instance, and he was just blown away when I was running around and doing everything, and the camera was just tracking me. Well, the latest update is going to give that for the a7iii and the a7R3, but the IAF. So let me just switch to this document. And we can have a talk about it.
Gerald was talking to you on the Facebook saying how I think he just got an A9 or something, and he's really impressed with it. I think he was saying that you're right, that the camera is one of the best cameras he's ever used or something like that. So this firmware update, yeah, everybody's just loving this thing for the G9.
Yeah, it is incredible. I mean, it's the a7iii and the a7R3 are getting the real IAF tracking performance. So it's much, much better than what that was previously. So it is going to track the eye. And the other thing now is you don't have to hold a second button like using back button focus or whatever to track the eye, or set a custom button to do it. It will happen automatically when you half press down on the shutter button. So you'll get this for your a7iii, Aaron.
Yep, I will. Oh, and check this out. We forgot to talk about this real quick. We're drinking coffee in Lucerne. If you're new to the show, I always drink coffee in a different place. So hello to all my Lucerne friends in Germany. We're drinking my typical coffee. Don't remember what it's named, but it's somewhere from somewhere.
Let me switch to you because let me switch to you for a second. You better show it again, Aaron, because I was.
Oh yeah, the switching. Yep. Lucerne. We drink. I drink a different mug. Me and my wife travel a lot, so if you're from Germany or Lucerne, hello to you. And that's where we're drinking some coffee today. It's really hot and yummy. Okay, continue.
Love it. So let's go back to this and so application window, and we go back to that.
Did I screw you up?
No, that's fine. So this is version 3 that's coming out. I believe they're saying it's going to come out in 2 days, because what's today? Well, it's going to be tomorrow for me, hopefully. So it should be tomorrow they're saying that we're actually going to get it. So if you're on the a7iii or the a7R3, you're getting the new IAF tracking, and you're also going to get the intervalometer built into your camera as well. So that's coming back as a firmware update tomorrow. And it looks like and I can tell you the IAF update is incredible. So I'm sure you're going to get the same thing for that. Well, I'll get that in my A7 III as well. I can't wait because I've got a wedding this weekend. So I'm dying to see to get this update done so I can use both cameras because that
Very
really
cool.
excites me.
Very nice.
So this obviously should be out. Hopefully it's just as simple an update as it was with the A9 on the Max. I know PC it seems to be a bit easier, but for the first time when I upgraded the Sony A9 on the Mac this time, it worked very, very well. And it was very easy. Before that, it was quite hard sometimes if you had the Mac. So it looks like this is going to happen. You're going to get the real-time IAF, the animal IAF, before the A9 because we've got to wait until the US summer before that's released for the A9. But you're getting that first, and also the intervalometer wasn't released on the A9 either. So you're getting that coming up in the next coming days. So I know a lot of people are really waiting, Aaron, for the animal IAF because that's totally new. At this stage, everyone has IAF, but not IAF tracking, which this new one has coming.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But
I love it
because
because so many times I've got dogs and I want to take some photos of even just my dogs sometimes and use it. I know that's kind of a small thing, but for all those wildlife photographers out there, I mean, that's got to be super fantastic, especially if it works as good as it's working on humans. It's going to be really, really good.
Now, I'm noticing in a couple of the questions down here that people are saying, is there improvement for video autofocus? I don't think so because the video autofocus doesn't use IAF. There definitely is a improvement for video autofocus in the A9, like in a substantial update. When I've been using that really has lifted that up 100% in the video autofocus tracking. But that was only available in the A9. So if you've got the A7 III, you're not going to get that component of it. But you certainly will get the better IAF and also the animal IAF and the intervalometer. So you are getting 3 really good big updates coming for the A7 III as well in the next day or so.
Yeah, very interesting. Do you know why they didn't, have you read why Sony didn't put those 2 options in the firmware of the A9 for any reason?
I'm not sure. That perhaps they were more concentrating on the real-time tracking for that. And it may be a strategy that they're thinking they might want to do incremental upgrades with firmware throughout the year. The initial thing I was thinking was that I believe now we're probably not going to get a new A9. And I think with these new firmware updates, that's sort of confirming it, I think. I think what's going to happen is we've just got that amazing new autofocus. And honestly, Aaron, I used to shoot a D4S and the A9 is just so far ahead of what I had with my Nikon now. I've never, ever used a camera that has auto. You haven't used it yet. But once you've used it, you just can't explain how good that tracking is. It is outstanding. And I suppose we're going to now get something in the summer, which is also the animal IAF and and the intervalometer. So it's sort of in 2 stages. I wouldn't even be surprised if we get another firmware update later in the year for all of these cameras. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure why they didn't release it in one go though. Perhaps they just didn't have time to incorporate all of that in one go. So the A7 III is getting that first, which, like I said, I'm lucky I've got an A7 III as well. So I'm really excited about trying that because I love photographing my dog as well, and it always tends to go for his nose, and it's really quite interesting. And yeah, to have it so I can concentrate because he has beautiful eyes to concentrate where it's grabbing, that is going to be amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so Roll Drone says, can't believe, David, you managed to get Christian Bale on the show.
Oh, is Christian Bale on here?
Yeah, they're saying I look like Christian Bale, I think.
I was going to say it on here.
I don't know. And then someone says, what's this name? This is called the Bane and Bruce Show. Okay.
Ah, Christian Bale.
Oh, I get all kind of different, you look like this person and that person. Check out my YouTube channel and comments. It's kind of funny. It's pretty hilarious. That's
good. I was going to say, really? What else have we got? In your opinion, Mike said, in your opinion, what's a better camera, a video camera, the A7 III or the 1DX Mark II? I haven't used the 1DX Mark II, Mike. So have you used that camera?
No, but if you're looking for, you know, really high quality slow motion and you're looking for really high bitrate 4K video, the 1DX blows the a7 III away, because you're getting, I think the megabits on that, I think, is like 800 megabits. That's a lot. And on the Sony a7 III, it's only 100. So if you're really into color grading and you really don't want any type of artifacts and stuff like that, the 1DX is by far better. But do you need that much? Are you really color grading? Are you pushing it that much? In my experience, having even shooting raw video on the Blackmagic cinema cameras, I stopped shooting raw because it's kind of overkill for most of what I do. So I think the Sony a7 III is just fine if you're just, you know, tweaking the shadows and the highlights, if you're coloring those a little bit. So price, size, and all that other stuff, I would choose a Sony a7 III. But if you want those high bit rates, yeah, you'd have to go with the 1DX.
It also does 4K 60, doesn't it, that 1DX as well?
Yes, it does 4K 60, exactly. So does my Fuji X-T3. With the video, the X-T3, in my opinion, from using it at a short time, it's better video quality than the Sony a7 III.
Yep.
But it's, you know, because the bit rates are higher, so you can really push stuff and you don't see it starting to tear apart. You don't get banding in certain areas. I did a test on like dynamic range test in photo mode. The Sony a7 III showed purple noise in the shadows, but the X-T3 didn't. So you would think that the full frame would beat the X-T3's APS-C sensor, and it didn't. So I would say, though, for price and everything else, the Sony a7 III might be the better option. But if you want video, X-T3 or the 1DX, you know, would be better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you're dealing, and this is somewhere where Sony definitely has to pay some attention, because they are lacking in 10-bit at this stage. They're definitely missing out in a 10-bit format. And also, I think it's also, you know, I think it's 100 megabits per second, isn't it, is the maximum. Whereas I think your Fuji X-T3 can go up to 400, doesn't it? Does it go that high, the X-T3? I'm not sure.
I think it does do 400, and I didn't check all the different things, but you also got intra-frame and long GOP, which is even giving you better quality because you're getting pure frames and not a frame and interpolating it and all that stuff. But in 4K 60p, which I was playing around with today, it's 200 megabits. So, I mean, you're shooting 4K 60p, 200 in camera. It's actually really quite amazing. So if you're just video, I would go with the X-T3. And if you really want the high quality, go for the 1DX.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure when they eventually bring out the A7000 or the A7S III, that obviously is going to be a given that they're going to have 10-bit 422 with higher megabits. That's still got to come. Does the X-T3 have HLG?
No, does it? I can't remember. I don't think it. Yeah, wait. I'm trying to think. See, I read so much about it, I can't remember if, I don't know, to tell you the honest truth. I don't think it does. I think it just has that Fuji F log or something. I can't remember. I'd have to look, but I would say I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. If anyone knows in the chat, they may be able to mention too in the live chat whether it does or not. Like I said, I've been experimenting with that, and I've been very, very surprised with how nice that profile actually looks. And I've done a video. I just posted a video the other day actually showing how to edit it as well. The only issue is I'm still not going to be using HLG for most of my video work because I can't be bothered to do all of that editing or, you know, and color grading. It's so nice just to be able to use the standard profile, just get the thing out there, and it still looks beautiful. But it really is an interesting format that if you are working in very high dynamic range, that you can get that. But I would probably think if Fuji haven't got that at this stage, I can almost guarantee it probably will come in a firmware update or something like that, the way Fuji are with their firmware updates.
Yeah, exactly. I did a video on the HSL2 and not 2, but also. And yeah, it's really cool for that dynamic range. But like you said, most of the time, you know, I I just never found myself using it. Same with RAW and the Blackmagic. So I usually end up just using standard profiles. And the X-T3 actually allows you to put a curve on it. So it lets you open up the shadows and then cut the highlights so you don't blow out so much. So that's just kind of like a built-in thing with inside the different film simulations. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, hopefully Sony comes out with more bit rates and all that stuff, because they're kind of falling behind now in the video department.
It's more, see, the time that you notice is when you're shooting log, and this is the issue with these higher bit rates, particularly 10-bit. With Sony at the moment, if you want to say get the ultimate dynamic range and you're shooting, say, a bride in this lovely setting with a bright blue sky or whatever, and you want to use log, you're going to get gradients that show up in your sky. And that's due to the fact that you have to manipulate the log to get a decent footage out of it. So the problem is there, you definitely need a 10-bit to get the true grading ability out there, to be able to push the file enough. And that's what Sony's lacking at the moment. And that's why I'm so hanging out for Sony to bring out a new camera that has that, the 10-bit 422 and higher bit rates in the camera, because I think it will make a big difference. It's going to come, guys. We just have to wait. I don't know why they're taking so long to do that. I thought an A7000 would have come out with that by now. Particularly because probably the Fuji's probably using a Sony sensor anyway. But
I think it's a Samsung sensor.
Oh, is it Samsung, is it?
Yeah, the more I read, I don't think nobody really knows, but the more I studied and read about it, I think it's the same sensor that was in the Samsung, what was that called? The Samsung One X?
The NX1.
Yeah, that one. I think it's that same sensor. And that sensor, well, I have the X-T3. It's amazing. But I remember when that Samsung camera came out, it was like blowing all the competition away. So Samsung really can make sensors that rival Sony, that's for sure, because the X-T3, I was doing tests and it's like, I don't see the huge difference with the full frame in certain situations, of course. But yeah, so I think it's a Samsung sensor in this and not a Sony. But
I think we've almost reached that pinnacle, though, of where the sensors can go. I don't think we're going to see much real changes now in what sensor performance can give us. Look, there'll be little changes, but I think now it's going to be more about things like the higher bit depths, the 10-bit. It's going to be more about the AI that is going to be built into these cameras as well, because I think technology-wise, we may have reached a little bit of a plateau.
Yeah, exactly. And we were talking about just because the camera manufacturers put like an F log or whatever these logs are called in a camera doesn't mean it's all that great. I think they're just trying to appease the masses, because like we talked about, you have those low bit depths and all these things. It's not all the best to use those, actually. I
noticed I think it's Roll there said, or someone said there that they sold their 1DX, Andre said, due to the A7 III having much better dynamic range.
That could be, yeah. I wouldn't say it might be true that the Sony a7 III has better dynamic range, because that thing has really good dynamic range. So it might be true. Never did the test, but you could be right.
Sorry, guys, if I cough. It is going to switch to me, but there's nothing I can do about it. I've got bronchitis, but I am much better than what I was. Also, Unboxed Tech said HLG is best for 10-bit as well. I mean, clearly, you can see the writings on the wall. I mean, there's no doubt that Sony is going to go 10-bit with their next camera releases that come out. It's just a matter of waiting until that actually happens. I mean, it may even be possible to add that as a firmware update to existing cameras, but perhaps the cameras, if they did it, would overheat, and that might be why they haven't done that at this stage, or even given it to us as a firmware update. It's going to happen. I'd say probably the A7000, whenever that comes out, is going to have it in the A7S III. Anyway, we better move on. Zoe at Moments here. G'day, Zoe at Moments. Good to see you in here. Thanks so much, mate. He said, well, Sharp has 8K with 10-bit, but it's 420, so 8-bit 422 is more or less the same as 10-bit 420.
Yeah.
Interesting. We're going to talk about that Sharp camera as well. So anyway, let's go to the next story, which is this Fuji film. Aaron's going to talk about this. Let me just switch over. Application window, and that one, I think, and present to everyone. Okay, Aaron, did you want to talk about this?
Yeah, there's not too much to say. Just kind of a heads up to everybody that a lot of talk has been saying that the APS-C sensor has reached its limit at 26 megapixels. Before they thought it was 24, and that's 26. But apparently, the Fuji film manager said that it's 26 is not the megapixel limit. And then they're saying that the GFX 100 that I think might be coming out maybe in June or May or something like that. Apparently, it's going to have maybe 100 megapixels in it. So that's kind of an interesting thing on that. So it looks like they might be increasing APS-C megapixels, or they're just stating the fact that no, you can, but maybe they won't. I, on the other hand, don't. If they have two models, that's fine, but I don't really necessarily would like to see an XT3 have more megapixels. I like the 24 or 26-ish megapixels. It's enough for what I do. But if you're into Fuji and you're looking for higher megapixels, it looks like you might be getting that, especially in the GFX 100. Apparently, it might have 100 megapixels, which would be pretty crazy. And then they go on to saying that within 3 years, they're going to start putting the AI in their cameras, like most of the camera manufacturers are doing, and they probably all have to do it or they'll be left in the dust. And that's pretty much it for that little tidbit there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that 24, 26 megapixel file size for me is the perfect size for the type of shooting that I actually do. I did speak the other day about Sony were going to potentially release a 100 megapixel full frame camera. That's probably going to be the a7iii that will come out, perhaps be announced at the end of this year. But I mean, I may buy that because I've still got the a7iii, and it might be something that I purchase to replace the a7iii. And it doesn't mean I'm going to shoot with 100 megapixel. I'm hoping, you'll be able to change that and shoot with, say, 50 or whatever. I like it for in studio, if I'm doing landscape and things like that. But for most of my work, which is my normal weddings, events, just the modeling shoots that I do and everything, the 20-odd megapixel is the perfect size that's not too big. And you can still blow it up to an incredible size.
Yeah, exactly. And I do see a lot of people, that megapixel race has been going on for years now. And I see a lot of people still going for those higher megapixels, but they're only posting on social media. Like, that's all they do. So I don't, unless they just like the idea of, having just knowing that you bought the new camera with the more megapixels. But I know lots of photographers that all they do is social media, or they're YouTubers, and they're just posting their images while they're doing their YouTube channel, as they take a shot, they show it. So I don't see much need. A lot of people I don't think need it. But like you said, it's kind of cool. Well, I don't know if you said this, but what's really cool about it is you can crop in. That's probably one of the biggest benefits. I might use a bigger megapixel is you can take a photo and you could do like a full body. Sometimes if you're doing a full body shot of a model, let's say, and they just nailed the look, but something was just off with the feet or something, well, you can just crop that in for a medium shot, and that's the shot that you can go with. Whereas if you're on 24 and you're too wide, maybe it looks a little crappy at that point. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I do sometimes, even still in the weddings, use the a7iii if I want to have the ultimate image that I know they're going to blow up to a massive amount, or I think I may have to crop in. I'll still use that, and that's the reason why I didn't sell it. That I've got. I'm using that to film me now, actually. But so it's interesting. But the fact that they mentioned the artificial intelligence, they're all seeming to go down this line. Sony have also said that they're going to go down this line of artificial intelligence as well. So clearly, that side of it is going to become very important, and you can see it in phones now. Well, I mean, what's going to happen eventually is that when you click on your shutter button, it is going to grab multiple exposures, similar to what HDR does. But the problem is, at the moment, HDR is fairly slow and it can't be used on moving things. Well, it's going to get to the stage where you'll take one shot, but that one shot will have multiple exposures, and it'll give you this amazing high dynamic range shot. Blend it back in the camera so you get this, 18 stop image that you see, where you can see all of the background and all of the foreground in the blacks and the highlights. These are the sort of things that they're going to start to be adding for this artificial intelligence. I mean, who knows where this is going to go in the future? It's certainly going to make photography easier, but remember, you still have to be an artist to think of that idea. But it's certainly going to be giving us things that we couldn't get before.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the interesting thing. I was always, I thought they would come out with that like a long time ago, where you get those two images at the same time, so that way you don't move between shots or whatever. Real quick, thanks for liking my setup here. And someone asked, does the Fuji X-T3 do the HDR shot? It doesn't do like an HDR shot, but what it does is it gives you these settings in camera. Fuji is completely new to me, so I'm not your guru for Fuji cameras, but I've been learning a lot in this last week. I've been so busy doing that, finding out the lenses and all that stuff. But there's a setting in there called ISO, like not the ISO settings, but like within the menu, there's ISO 200, ISO 400, and ISO 800. So it's kind of complicated, but if you put it on ISO 200, you're no longer using the base ISO of 160. You're actually using the base ISO of 400. And this can get complicated and whatever, but what that's doing is it basically opening up your shadows. And when you take a shot, it's being able to manage your highlights at the same time, open the shadows. So it's not like a true HDR in essence, but it's kind of doing something interesting like that. And so I was playing with that, and it's really, really, really interesting. I thought kind of like a gimmick thing, but you do get a little bit more noise in the shadows. But I mean, to regain the highlights is quite amazing, and it actually affects the JPEG and the RAW files, which is kind of cool. So if you want your RAWs also to have that, I don't know if it's a greater dynamic range or whatever you call it. So it's not HDR, but it has something like that. I forget who asked that, but hopefully that answered.
Yeah, I sort of made a mistake once with that. I'd set a picture profile on my camera, and I shot a wedding with the picture profile on, and when I downloaded all the RAWs, I couldn't work out why they were all so flat. I thought, oh my God, what's gone wrong? What have I done here? It's all, I mean, luckily the raw file, you can just edit them all to bring it all back in. But yeah, and that's when I realized that, you know, picture, excuse me, picture profiles also affect your RAWs, which is interesting. That happened to me probably 12 months or so ago. So you've got to be very careful if you are using picture profiles. All right, so let's go to the next story, which is Capture One. I noticed this is about Fuji, but there is a Sony point to this as well too, because Sony they've just released the A6400 update in Capture One as well. So if you have got an A6400, that will now work with Capture One as well. But Aron, this is more all this Fuji lenses has been released.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I wanted to talk about this just because I just actually put up a video on my YouTube channel, Aron J. Anderson YouTube channel, and it's basically taking now if you're a Fujifilm shooter, or you're going to know that Capture One is probably the go-to raw processor, because they're working with Fuji, so of course it's going to be the best. And I just uploaded a video comparing Capture One for Fujifilm, Lightroom desktop, Lightroom mobile, and Affinity Photo mobile, to see, because I kept hearing that if you're a Fujifilm shooter, get rid of Lightroom because it's crappy, go to Capture One. And that intrigued me, and I just tried it. And really, go watch my video, I would still use Lightroom. I don't see a huge difference except for things called worms, where if you take Lightroom and you sharpen too much, you get these little wormy artifacts, but I can only see it when I blow it up to 400%. And nobody's going to do that. So for me, with the workflow that I have with Lightroom, I probably still use Lightroom. But Capture One is cool because you got your film simulations in there like you do with Lightroom, but this new update for Fujifilm is adding more lenses to their correction thing. So if you have the Fujinon 16 to 50 millimeter f3.5 to f5.6, that is going to be included. Also with the 18 to 55 millimeter f2.8 to f4, the 50 millimeter to 140 millimeter f2.8, and the 56 millimeter f1.2. So yeah, that's added in this update. So it'll do all those lens corrections for you and all that good stuff. I don't know. I didn't do any tests with Lightroom yet to see if the lenses that I have are being corrected or not. Try that out. But yeah, Capture One 12.0.3 update.
Yeah, I noticed, like I said, they've just had the A6400 support there as well. I purchased Capture One just recently, actually. I purchased it really to be doing tethering. I thought it might be a better tethering option than something else. I know Oreo did a test. I think it was Oreo did a test in our photography, videography school showing using a Lightroom and Capture One because a lot of people say, well, it's much better for the Sonys, but when we were doing the test, or when Oreo did it there, I couldn't see really any difference. And that's the thing. I'm not sure whether there is any difference in how it works. I know a lot of the Sony shooters swear that it gives you better colors and things like that, but I don't know. I probably should have a play around with it one time. It's just that you get so used to working with one system, and I found Lightroom's cataloging is very good. Things like that, and having to learn a whole new system, you've got to get the time to do it, and it's a problem.
Yeah, I started Capture One's not that difficult. I know all kind of different softwares for video and everything, so I guess I just kind of click on pretty quick. It worked great, but I just mainly I wasn't seeing the mushiness that people were saying with Lightroom. Go watch my video. I don't want to go through my whole video right here, but a lot of those articles that I was reading were older articles, so I don't know if Lightroom updated since then or Fuji updated since then or what, but you have to pixel peep at 400% to see these little wormy artifacts if you increase sharpness too high in Lightroom. If you don't, if you just leave it at it's 40 when you bring it in, yeah, like you, I don't see a huge difference. So for me, I wouldn't change my whole workflow. It wasn't like that mind-blowing to me, but I still maybe have to dig into it, and maybe I didn't see nothing.
I'm just laughing at Langston. He said, Jeebus, we're all going to need bigger hard drives. That's talking about 10-bit. And you know what? When I had the GH5, that was one of the issues where I very rarely used the 10-bit and the higher megabits, because, boy, does that increase your hard drive storage requirements when you're shooting in those formats. But that was probably nearly 2 years ago, and hard drives are a lot cheaper now than that. But it's not only that, it takes a lot more to edit it. So then you might have to start using proxies and things like that to edit these much bigger files on your computer than what was previously used. Have you done much with 10-bit files, Aron?
A little bit with the Blackmagic. Are you talking about for video?
Yeah, for video, yeah.
Yeah, Blackmagic cameras, I was trying the 10-bit. I was trying some other projects I worked on had 10-bit, but it comes to the point where everybody's like jumping on these bigger, better things, but what are you doing? What are you editing for? Even when I edit a commercial for the local TV here, I use just a regular profile. I mean, for one, if I gave a 4K huge file to these TV stations to play that, they'd be like, what is this? I even have, this was maybe 2 years ago, there's one station here that actually still required standard definition. And when I got that, I was like, what? Standard definition? So for the stuff I do, it's just like way overkill to have to manage all this stuff. I mean, if I'm going to make a beautiful, like if you go to my YouTube channel, in the past, I'd make these beautiful scenic type videos. And I would process it in a way that I'm using, well, I won't go into it, but it's a little bit better, but not like 10-bit and raw. It's just like, oh, it's a way, why? People are going to watch it on YouTube, and it's just a waste of time, space, unless you're working for a production house who's going to hire you and say, hey, we want to hire you out to take some B-roll or some for this upcoming film. Now you got to think about using that stuff because they're going to probably require that. But I personally don't know anybody that works for those type of people, and they're putting it in these cameras and everybody's buying it up, and people just don't need it. They really don't. That's my opinion on it. Yeah,
and that's the. I found it was my computer could handle the files working with the 10-bit 422 when I was using it through the Panasonic, but it was the file sizes were just massive. But yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. Perhaps I'm just going to end up having to buy a new computer and new hard drives if I do it. Jim Penn said, thumbs up, please. Yes, really appreciate that, guys. If you can, give a thumbs up. We've got 2 thumbs down. I love it. We've got the haters here already. Brandon
Thanks for the thumbs up. Someone else said, oh, sorry, David. Someone said something there to me, and I read it. I do see you guys as typing there, but when David's talking, I don't interrupt. I can't find it.
I added Jim as a moderator as well because he's always getting involved. So congratulations, Jim. Brandon said, still waiting to see how the Zeiss camera is going to be like. Yeah, have you looked at that Zeiss camera, Aaron?
Yeah, didn't we talk about it? Is that the one that is 100 megapixels, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
no,
that's another.
No, the Zeiss one is the one that looks. I don't think it's 100 megapixel. It's that strange shapy camera. It might be 100 megapixels. I can't remember.
With the 35 millimeter fixed lens on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 100 megapixels because you have those crop factors, you know, like you can crop it to 75 millimeters or something like that. How'd that work? We talked about it. I don't know how it's going to work. If you're someone who just loves to do like street type of photography, I think it's great because I think we're talking about the right one, aren't we?
Oh, well, look, that's the thing. I remember looking at it the thing is, I saw it today and it didn't really interest me, so I didn't even read the story. It's that really weird looking camera.
Oh, okay, the Zeiss. Okay,
yes,
yeah. The Zeiss one has Lightroom inside of it.
Yes.
And you can now, okay, yeah, now I know. That has a fixed lens too. I was thinking about the Leica camera we talked about. Yeah, the Zeiss, I don't know. I like the direction they're going with being able to color grade and stuff like that in camera. But who's going to do that? But coming back to the X-T3, which they have that was really strange. I'm finding stuff out I've never even heard before. You can hook your X-T3 up to your computer and use Fuji software and manipulate your RAW files while they're in your computer, in your camera. So you're not even using your computer, you're using the raw processing in the Fuji camera, which is cool because you know you're getting the absolute Fuji, the way they want their photos to look is what you're getting there. So I like the idea where they're going with that. I would like, a long time ago, it was maybe the Canon XTI or one of those where Canon, I don't know if they do this. If you're a Canon shooter, let me know. You used to be able to download a program from Canon. You used to be able to tweak the color profile yourself and then upload it back to your camera. And then when you took a raw photo, it has that color grade to the photos. I absolutely love that as a colorist. And that new Zeiss is letting you do that, but that's after the fact. I wish like Fuji would allow me to maybe take the tints and tones of the shadows and highlights so you can get like a color grade in camera if you're a JPEG shooter. So I would like that, and I think it's cool where Zeiss is going with that, but I don't think I would buy the camera. What about you, David?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'd be buying it either. We could have even talked about that article today actually, which was still saying that the numbers had still dropped for cameras, and I can't remember the figure. I think it had dropped down another 15% in February. So the numbers are still not looking good for digital sales or camera sales at this moment, including mirrorless. And they were saying they believe it could have been due to lack of innovation. I don't know if there's a marketplace for this camera, and that's, you know, that's the interesting thing. Anyway, all right, let's go to the next story because this is an interesting one because it's talking about which states in the US pay the best salaries for photographers. So I'm going to switch this over and we can have a chat about this because I thought, oh, this is quite interesting. So this is the page that came up, and like I said, we'll put all these links down below. So there's an article talking about salaries and things like that, about what states earn the most money, and there's one of the links that you click, which is this one, which gives you more detail about which states. Let me just see if I can quit that there. Which states are earning the most money? And it says the 10 states where photographers earn the most money are Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Massachusetts is 65,000. I suppose this is mean, so this is the average. Rhode Island is 54, Minnesota is 54, New Mexico is 53,720, New York is 53. That surprised me, Aaron, because I would have thought somewhere like New York and California would have been ahead of those. Why would you think that those figures are like that?
Well, maybe because of what we talked about the other day is maybe the competition is so high in that area. I can only imagine everybody just kind of trying to get their bids in at lower prices, because with a high population area, you would think it was more, but that's the only thing I could think of, is if the competition is so high and everybody's starting to lower prices. I have no idea. It's kind of weird.
Now, the 10 states where photographers earn the least, and this you might want to comment on this too when I read these, but is it Iowa is 30,000, South Dakota is 30, Montana is 31, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Louisiana, Tennessee, Idaho, Arizona, and North Carolina. So are they small states, population-wise?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're not like the big. I mean, they all have their capital and all that stuff. So I don't know where they get their numbers from. And I was trying to figure out why that would be, because like you said, you would think that New York would be really high, and maybe some of these smaller states would be low, and it kind of looks like that. But yeah, I don't really get the numbers. I remember a couple years ago I read an article like this, and it kind of seems to be about the same. I don't know how old these numbers are. Or
2018, these numbers are.
Yeah, I've maybe read something like this even a couple older years than that, but it seems to be kind of the same. Nothing seemed to change with my memory here. But yeah, I have no idea why, how that would be, or why.
Well, let's look at states, because states, if they're dealing with states in itself, the District of Columbia is the highest. Massachusetts. Yeah, so where is the District of Columbia?
I don't know. Get a map out.
Yeah, I don't know either. So Massachusetts, someone else maybe able to help us in the live chat. Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Well, Rhode Island would be New York, wouldn't it? I think. Is that right? I don't know
District of Columbia. Well, oops,
I'm not sure where Rhode Island is. Minnesota, New Mexico. Oh, no, New York separately down here. So anyway, these are really interesting figures. Florida was actually very low as an actual whole state. Oregon, the worst, if you're looking at states in itself, was Iowa and South Dakota, but they're all sort of fairly similar figures.
See, District Columbia, what they're saying, it's up north, like around the New York area, and I don't know, like where did I just see that at? I lost my page, but District of Columbia is up in the north, like the old time states up there.
Oh, okay.
And I lost my page. What was those numbers? Were they good or bad?
No, District of Columbia was the top.
Oh yeah, see, where's my? I missed my thing. Okay, District of Columbia. Yeah, 82. Look at that, and that's right above New York area. And New York's way down here on 53. So yeah, I don't see no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, suppose these are talking about the mean averages of, what normal photographers earn. And this is why I always go nuts when I see these stupid photographers that I'm not going to mention names, but these stupid photographers on YouTube or other program. I'm not even going to mention the places where it is, but it ends with live. But anyway, you get them on there, and then they're going around saying that they're earning $20,000 per studio session and all this sort of stuff, and this is how we can make, their print sales are $10,000 per print sale and all this sort of stuff, and you have everyone crying and carrying on going, this is amazing, this is going to change my life. Well, these figures prove that is a complete load of crap, that the average photographer, and I'm talking, yes, there may be some that are way up there earning a elitist amount, but I would think if you're talking about the average photographer running an average business out there, these probably are figures that are more realistic to what you would be earning than what these photographers that are trying to sell workshops and stuff like that are actually showing that you can get, and it's interesting. I mean, and I'd love to know in the chat too, the photographers, and even in the comments later on, are these figures more relative to what you would expect to be seeing running a business, a photography business in the States, rather than what you see these so-called photographers saying that you can be earning $10,000 of print sales for every single sale that you use.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same there. And everybody's saying it's below New York, below Philadelphia, District of Columbia. Someone said the capital of Washington, D.C. So there you go.
Oh. But I'd love to know. I'd love to know where these so-called $10,000 print sales that you keep hearing about on other channels saying they're coming from. You know, and I just think a lot of them are just telling lies just to basically sell their workshops, which is pretty unethical, if you ask me. Looking at that, I think those figures just aren't there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just upselling themselves, you know. I don't know for sure, but I think that might be the thing that's going on there.
Bayo said, too much competition in California, people undercutting each other and people looking for a bargain discount. Now, we had a really interesting discussion in the photography videography school about this the other day. People were talking about wedding photography, for instance. This was in Europe that they were talking about, and I can't remember where they were saying it, but everyone was basically backing what they were saying up there. And this is sometimes why, guys, if you haven't joined that group, please join it, because we have some amazing discussions. But they were saying, I think it was Tim actually was saying in there, that the figures that were being quoted for weddings this year was 70% down on what they could charge for a wedding in the previous year. And this was due to the number of people that were now trying to get into weddings and offer ridiculous prices to do weddings. So where it might have been $3,000 before, they were now charging $700 and giving all the images and stuff like that as well. So obviously competition is having a major impact here on what photographers can earn. And it was having real consequences of if photographers were trying to earn a living, say from doing weddings and things like that and feeding their family. Like when you're talking about a 70% drop in sales, that's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And that's the only reason I think these certain states are lower, because in that area, people are just doing that. Photographers are lowering their prices to get a job or something, and that's it. I think a lot of things too is because cameras are getting, see what you guys think about this, but because cameras are getting better, they are actually getting easier to take an adequate photo. I mean, if you put in auto, you're going to get a decent photo.
Yeah. And
because of that, with with all the YouTube channels pushing cameras like me and Dave and everybody else, it's just more popular than ever to get. And with the iPhones, everybody wants to upgrade maybe to a real camera. So I think it's just photography in the last, I would say since the 5D Mark I or whatever that is came out, just an increase in sales. And I think everybody has them, and everybody thinks they're a photographer, and their photos are decent because the camera's good. So you got more photographers out there, and I think that's just the way of the future.
Well, Gerald has said there too, for instance, that too much competition in New York and California, prices are down.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, really a problem, because these are two of the most expensive states in cost of living.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Too much.
This is the other reason why I said, Aaron, that the one thing that I can say to you, people that are following us, is to learn both photography and videography and offer both, because at least that opens up a marketplace where you can have an extra feature that you might be able to have over anyone else. I mean, I sent out a quote yesterday where the bride wanted the photography and videography done at the same time, that the fusion that I do, and it certainly has helped me in that regard. So video is still harder to do than what photography is, and I can tell you that from fact, because I have learnt that side, and I'm still learning the videography side myself, due to the fact that you have to understand lighting more. I mean, you can't just add flashes. You've got to say add continuous lighting. Audio is an incredible thing that you actually have to learn. You know, camera angles, all these sort of things, where I think video is such a far more complex thing. The editing side of it is far more complex. So at least that's something where the so-called, and I'm not meaning to be derogatory here, I'm not that way at all, but the mums with cameras all tend to be getting into baby photographer, and now some of them are even moving into weddings and things like that, where videography doesn't seem to have that same problem due to the fact that it is so much harder. Do you agree, Aaron, or am I off?
Well, no, that's exactly what I'm saying about, even without speaking of video, is how the photography has been getting easier. I mean, if you put a film camera, I started on film cameras. They didn't have digital when I started. And man, it was hard because you don't know what the photo is going to look like. You have to know exposure. You have to know the right film ASA to put in there. You have to know all that stuff. And there wasn't a whole lot of photographers like there is today because it's so difficult to get a good shot, and then try to do a wedding with film is like, ooh, really hard, right? So now that the cameras are so much easier to point in a direction, you take the XT3, throw it in auto, point in that direction, you're going to get a decent shot. And so I completely believe what you're saying, whereas video today is still really difficult to learn, even though the cameras are easier for photography, but for video, you don't have the luxury of changing your shutter speed like you do in photography. You got motion going on. You've got just all the things you just named. You need, if you want a really high production value, you need gimbals, sliders, jibs, and now drones, the audio. You got so many different tools to make, to go into making a really high look on your video, whereas photography, you only need one flash and a softbox, and you can make it look like high end quite easy, you know? So completely agree with you that video is so much harder, and I'm glad I really spent the last 10 years and dove into video, because I could just do anything with video. I mean, if someone needs video. Now, my little thing with video and why I went to photography is you're going to get more jobs in photography because there's more average people that are going to want photography than there are videos even today.
That's going to change, Aron, though, I think.
Yeah, it's going to change. That's why you should learn this. But there's more corporate jobs in the video. So learning both, you can do your corporate where there's not a huge amount of people going for it because video is harder. And so to learn both is absolutely ideal. And like David just said, I mean, YouTube's been taken over with video, so everybody's like video, video, video. And if you get into the video now and learn how to do good video, then that's just another sales point for you. And if someone, a lot of times too, people are like, they would hire a photographer and a videographer. But if you're someone who's like David, who does the both video and photography, would they hire one person when they see their work is great on both aspects, or would they hire two and deal with all that? So video is very important, and it's a really good skill to have, because even if the cameras get better, it's still going to be hard to do video because you don't have all the luxuries of photography, putting it on a tripod and taking one shot. You've got motion and all that other stuff. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's not only that, it's learning. I found that audio was the hardest thing to learn, you know, like
super hard.
Say miking up multiple people and then syncing that, or even syncing it back in post later on and choosing the correct audio and things like that. Like there really is so much that you've actually got to learn in the video side of it. And I think that's one reason why I'm saying to all of you guys that are following us, if you're serious about staying in this industry for the future, and I can see the writing on the wall, I would be trying now to learn as much as you can about, say, doing what I do, which is that fusion of doing the stills and the videography, because it certainly will help you stand out in the field and give something else that's an added benefit. And for the future, I can guarantee they're going to be wanting stills and video as well. So, you know, try now and just do it. Say, learn as much as you can. And I just think it's a great thing to do. Anyway, we better keep moving on. Next quick story. We're going to go to the Q&A at the end, guys, just so we don't slow down too much. So this next story is just a Panasonic update that Aron clicked on here. Let me just bring up the screen and I'll show you the update. So this is a Panasonic Lumix G14 to 140 lens with better weather protection, Aron, that's been brought out.
Yeah, this is it's a lens that I actually used before on the Panasonic cameras, and it was a good focal length. I lost the thing again. Oh, there it is. It's a really cool focal length because 14 to 140, you can get a lot done with that. I did both video and photos on it. It wasn't the sharpest lens and all that stuff, but I'm kind of excited to see them do an update to that lens, because although I like the lens, you know, it's a little slow. It's a f5.6, so it's not good in low light. But if you're someone who does a lot of just outside type photography or video projects of sceneries and stuff like that, it's a really good lens. And I mean, I haven't tried this new one out, but if they're going to improve it and put weather sealing on it, I'm kind of excited to see an old lens I used to use be updated. So that's just a really quick story for you guys. If you're into Panasonic, it's a pretty cool lens, and now it's an updated. So cool.
Great. Excuse me. Great stabilization as well.
Yeah.
Next story. I'm just going to click straight over. This does interest me, as a matter of fact. This Rode Wireless Go. So Rode, it's an Aussie company, so it's good that you know, they're doing so well. Have released this new device that is called the Wireless Go, and you can see the size. It's very, very small. You just have a transmitter and receiver. It does have a built-in lav mic built in, which you can just sort of see on the top of that left-hand side one there. You can add an external lav mic if you want to, because it does have the port to be able to add that on there. It uses a 2.4 gigahertz frequency. It'll go up to 230 feet. But a great little system, already paired when you purchase them. If you do want to pair it with another unit, you can just hit a pairing button. But where this is so fantastic is the little clip that you see on the back fits into the hot shoe of your camera. So that will just slide in, or it can be a belt clip or anything else, and you can just put it straight onto your collar or something like that. And these look fantastic. So they can just fit just in sort of here like that, with the mic pointing up, and then you can just talk with it like that. It has a little windsock that comes with it that you can sit on the top of it. It will go straight onto your hot shoe, and you can even use it with mobile phones and stuff like that. In fact, I've pre-ordered this, so I'm meant to be getting it in a week or so, I think. So I'm really excited about getting it. I think this is going to be fantastic for someone like me, a YouTuber that just wants a very, very quick setup where I don't have to stick a microphone in here and then run around with my unit down in my pocket or something like that. I can just put one on the camera and just put the clip there, walk around and get decent audio straight away. So I'm really excited about it. I think that you can pre-order them. They're about $299. What do you think about this, Aron?
Well, yeah, I think it's good. Like, this is, I showed this in the pre-show, but I don't know if I showed it, but I'm going to show it now. It's kind of the same thing as what this is. This is by Sony. I've had these for a while now. And what this is doing is it has a lav mic input here. So just exactly like that. It's a lav mic. It has a mic on itself. So even without a lav mic, you can just clip it here and use it like that if you want, just like that. It has a lav mic or mic input, so you can run a lav mic and just put it lower so you have the better quality of a lav mic. How I'm using this now is I have the other unit, the audio of David in my computer is going through the other unit on my computer, transmitting Bluetooth to here so I can hear David here. So it's the same thing, but the problem with this is because it's Bluetooth, the audio is not that great. It's good for probably a YouTube channel if you want to put this on a camera and freely put your camera on a tripod for behind the scenes and walk around freely. That's why I got it. I don't use it that much, but this one is not Bluetooth, so it's it's
wireless. Yeah, it's just wireless 2.5 gigahertz.
Yeah. So the quality is going to be a lot better, and that should be able to go through walls and go further than this Bluetooth. So that is really exciting because if it works anything even similar in fashion than this, it's going to be pretty good. So yeah, very exciting.
It has a 7-hour battery life. It's $199 actually. I do suggest if you are thinking about ordering this is to pre-order it, because I know the previous ones are very, very hard to get, and you can be waiting months. They're saying expected availability is April the 17th in the US, but I would think if you don't get the early versions of this, you might be waiting weeks and weeks or even potentially months. Excuse me. So if you were thinking about getting it, I would definitely pre-order it. And like I said, I have pre-ordered it, so hopefully I'll get it very, very soon. And the last story which we're going to look at is this, which is the Sharp 8K camera. I noticed Matt Granger put a video up of this yesterday, so if you did want to check it.
In his Bentley? Was he in his Bentley?
Yes, he was. Yes, that was the one. And the I don't know, Aron, did you, the funny thing was looking at something like that, in 8K and ultimate 4K footage like that, it almost looked like it wasn't filmic. It looked almost fake. Did you notice that when you looked at I looked at it on my 4K television, and it was obviously in 4K, and everything was just so sharp that it looked almost like a moving still image.
Well, yeah, that's a funny thing with 4K. We don't know what the color they're using and all that stuff. That can kind of what frame rate did he use? I don't know, because 60p and 30p is not going to look filmic because most Hollywood films are using 24p.
I think you said 30.
So 30. So that and the sharpness. Now that's the one thing Panasonic always had issues with, is people saying it looks just too digital. That's a lot that has to do with the fall off of light, and there's a lot of things to do that. But the sharper it gets, and shooting at 30 or 60p is definitely not going to look filmic. So I did notice that. And it's a small sensor, so you're going to get more in focus. So yeah, it's like the furthest thing away if you want something to replicate as much as possible, Hollywood films. So yeah, it didn't look too good to me.
It looked camcordery. That was the thing. It looked like it'd been shot from a camcorder.
Yep. Small sensor.
Yeah.
No depth of field. I'm sure the light fall off isn't that great on that sensor, so you're getting a digital look and not a roll. There's a lot of things, and I saw that in that footage as well. So it's not something that looked very pretty. It's 8K, so go out and buy it.
But have a look at the. Let me just bring this back, and I'll just show you. But have a look at the. Like I said, Matt Granger's video if you want to see how this looks. So I'd love to know in the comments box down below what you think about it. Really interesting concept though, because the camera itself is quite small, and it does do 8K 30p in H.6.4, and it's 8-bit 420 200 megabits per second. But look, the implications are quite interesting about this, is because it's like I said, the croppability in this would just be nuts, and it does sort of show a little bit down. I'll show you in a minute. It has a fold-out screen that's massive that you can sort of see down through here. But
the screen looked really nice on it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And this is how much you can crop these sort of images in, that when you're looking at them, and still to maintain detail. So you could use this, in fact, to get a really high megapixel still image from video. And this may be the future of where cameras are going to go eventually, that we'll almost be shooting video footage and grabbing stills from that, because it's incredible. I can't remember what the actual thing is. It ends up being about a 30 megapixel file size. I think that was about where it was if you're using 8K footage, or it might have been 24. I can't remember, but it was quite high. But, incredible detail, incredible picture quality. But like I said, the issue is with this sensor, because it's so small, there wasn't really any depth of field that I saw looking at Matt's images. Everything was basically in focus, and that could have been something to do with the lens that he used.
Yeah, you don't know what the difference. Now the thing is I've always been saying, since the Panasonic cameras came out with 4K photo mode, I do think that's going to be a future type thing, where if you're shooting 30p 30 megapixel stills for photo, or 8K, then I mean, can you imagine you can just set your camera up for a photo, and they can do whatever, and you got like can you imagine all the photos you could pull from that and still have a high quality photo from it? But it is kind of weird. I've tried that with the Panasonic cameras, and it just feels weird, because you're posing someone and they're not moving, but yet you're taking video of them. So it's almost kind of like, do I need it? But I think that will be a futuristic thing, and I think they can implement it in a better way, where we can pull those images from a 8K video or something. But then you have to go through all those frames, so it was a little time consuming.
Yeah. Now we're going to show our behind the photos. Aaron, did you have it open on your side, your image, or were you just wanting me to share it from my? I can share it from my screen if you want me to.
Go ahead and share it from yours.
Okay, so you'll go through yours first. Let me just go here.
I found it, but if you have it, you can do it.
Okay, so do you want to take us through this?
Yeah, so this is a photo. If you're new to Behind the Photo, this show that you're watching, me and David shows the photo, and then we talk, basically behind the scenes on how we did it or why we did it or whatever. And this photo here is actually me and my wife, and this was for a magazine. And the magazine article was about, of course, jewelry. That's why we're all decked out in the jewelry there. And this is super difficult to get a nice shot and be the photographer at the same time. Like, this is like super selfie mode here. And yeah, it's just, I just get so aggravated when I do these selfie type shots, because it's got to look good. You're going to put it in a magazine and whatever. But the way I did this was this was on a Panasonic camera, and even though the Panasonic cameras have a completely rotatable screen, there's no way I'm going to be able to see. This was shot at like a 90 millimeter equivalent. There's no way I'm going to see that screen from that far away. So right off to my left in the shot, I have an iPad with using the connection app or whatever you call those. And that way I could dial in my settings right on the iPad, right to my left there, and see if there's any blowouts or highlights. I could tap on my face to get the focus and all that stuff. So that's how I actually got the selfie shot. And what I was using two, I forget what size they are, 32 or 42 inch umbrellas, one on each side of us. The one on the right was a little brighter because my wife is looking into that. And usually you want the girl to look better, so I want her to be looking into that light. And I didn't want to do a 1-to-1 contrast ratio to have the whole scene just white and even. So it's okay if I have shadows. I'm a guy, and whatever, it doesn't matter if I don't look the best or whatever. But it looks cool anyways. And so that's how I lit it. And the background was really kind of hard, because what you're looking at here is I wanted to fill the frame. I do that with video and a lot of my photos. I don't like to have empty space unless that shot is, meant to have that empty space look. I like to fill my frame with stuff. So this was in our house. This is actually, you're looking at under the stairwell, and I just put some flowers up on the little things there. And what's behind us is just a table. It doesn't make no sense. When you see it from this angle, it looks cool, but there's just an ugly table behind there just so I can prop up that lamp and those twisty looking green bushes. So if you were to look over our shoulder, it would look like a complete mess back there, but it turned out pretty good. And I don't know what else much to say about this. It was on a tripod. I used the camera app. I used my wife first. So I looked through the camera in the back just to get the composition in the framing with the tripod. And I balanced the flash with the light you see in the background, because I didn't want that lamp just to blow out and have like a blown out light going up underneath the stairwell there. And that was basically it. And then in order to take the photo with the app, I had it set on like 10 seconds, I think. So I would press on the app to take the photo, and then we would do our little pose and just hold it there until the camera would take its photo. And we just kept doing that with different slight poses, and later picked the shot we liked. So
I love it.
That's my behind the photo. Thanks.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Thank you.
Very well exposed. Nice colors, beautiful, bright, vivid colors. Their skin tone colors are lovely as well.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so let's look at mine. The one I'm showing you is one I shot the other day. I did this for my workshop that I did for my 20,000 celebration with Matisse. So I got Matisse to stand down the center of this, the Melbourne GPO, which has this lovely archway above it. And I wanted to sort of push the envelope here a little bit due to the fact that I was giving a demo of how I work. So I used 3 Profoto lights to actually light this up. There's one behind her, directly behind her, and you can see that if you look around her on her arm, you can sort of see how it's lifting her up from the background. If I didn't have a light behind her, there'd be no separation there. And if you look right down the line of her arm, which is just separated from her body a little bit, you can see that there's a very light slither of light on either side there. There's also a hair light to the camera right at the top, which you can see is giving her hair and the side of her face a separation as well. So that's got lighting there that's giving that kick of light. And then I've had Ben holding my Profoto B10 with a 2-foot octa in front of her to the left-hand side that's giving her, which is the key light, which is giving her the fill from the front. And that's why, so it's had 3 lighting set up here. I exposed for the ambient first to get that lovely archway and background showing up exposed correctly. And then I added each individual light one at a time. I did the hair light first, then I added the backlight, and then I added the key light from the front to get a perfectly balanced photo. And, you know, and I just love the way that looks. I love how it's hard edged, and that's exactly how I wanted sort of Lara Croft, you know, Tomb Raider sort of look. You can see Matisse is an incredible dancer, and she has an amazing body there that you can see also the definition in her stomach through there as well, because she's an athlete. And, you know, I just love it. I love that photo to death. It was shot at 1/400th f2.8 ISO 500, and this was with the 85 Batis lens that I used there. So yeah, that's it.
I absolutely love the shot, and like Gilbert said, I love the clothing. I love the pose fits the clothing. It's really nice there. And this is one of those shots that it's an absolute must to get some rim lighting on her, being that she has black hair and black clothes with that dark background. I see so many photos now. Sometimes I don't take. There's a lot of times I use natural light, and man, sometimes you know you see a shot and you're like, oh, you wish you had you know, a flash, because now you could position her a little, you know, to the left, or you could have shifted to the right so that bright background is more behind her, but then it ruins the composition. So I almost always, for a while now, carry at least one flash that I could at least put on the ground and just shoot behind somebody to do that separation. Because without that separation, this would have been a nice photo, but man, that just really
well, you would have lost her arm. See, that the issue here too is you would have lost that whole side of that body, would have blended in with that background, and that's why it's so important to add that separation. You've got to always be thinking constantly of separating your subject from the background if it's dark, particularly because she's wearing that black top. You know, and what I think makes this for me personally is the way the arm is separated from the body on that side, and you can see that slither of light down the side of her body there, and also the arm, and that's what really makes that image for me, and the light hitting the side of her face up the top.
Yep, that's absolutely super important. That's why you see, you know, natural light versus flash photography. You could, you know, people can do whatever they want. Natural light, I do a lot of natural light, but there's some times that having a flash with you could save you in that situation, because then you'd have to redo the composition and you would not have such an amazing photo. So very, very nice photo.
All right, so let's open it up quickly to Q&A. Excuse me. Chris said photography jobs are hard to get in the southern, that must be California, is it? I suppose a lot of people trying to get that one job. Scales of population and density and cost of living, Langston has actually said there as well. Gerald said, I already read that one before. Photoman said Rochester, New York, I suppose it is, photographer on every corner. And this is the problem that we're dealing with. Jelani said, I was wondering where the state would be on the list. That's there. Langston said, yes, there are 10,000 photographers counting in SoCal. Do you see any questions you wanted to sort of discuss, Aron?
I'm just still trying to find out where you are.
Oh, okay, yeah. I just go everywhere down. I think I'm sort of 3/4 way down the bottom. Oh, Gerald said, District of Columbia is Washington, D.C., our capital.
I see someone ask me about my photo, how that it is very difficult to do selfies. It's like so frustrating because, you know, when you're behind the camera, you can move like this and tell someone, oh, move your chin that way. You can see how the light's falling, and oh, that don't look good. So you can't do that when you're behind. It's in front of the camera. It's terrible. But they asked me, and I don't remember who said that, of course, but they asked me how many shots did it take, and I don't remember, but it took a whole bunch. That took a whole lot of shots to get one that looks really good.
Just still reading. Listen to my cough. Most people are talking about those figures for photographers. Oh, do you want to answer some?
Yeah, you got to cough somewhere else because it's going to keep switch it to you, or make me go live or whatever that's called. Jim Penn put up my YouTube video. I don't know what video that was. I'd have to go back and look to see what people were asking. So Jim, thanks for putting that in there. Let's see what else there is. It says, who's that say? You can have the 3 buddies under 3 kills at the beach every weekend. I don't see any other questions really. People are talking amongst themselves.
See if I can
Black Magic is keeping Micro Four Thirds alive too. Yeah, Black Magic. I always tell people when I get like a new system or whatever, my favorite video coming out of a camera that I owned is the Black Magic camera. I just love the color, just everything about the Black Magic cameras. They look really amazing. Micro Four Thirds is still great. I know I have a lot of Micro Four Thirds subscribers to me. And some of them were sad to see me go. Sometimes it just depends on what you do. Like the shot I just showed you guys, that was Micro Four Thirds, and it looked great. Why? Because the lighting was there. The smaller the sensor you have, the harder it is to get a nice looking shot. Basically, I had some guy arguing with me on my YouTube channel about that. He was like, "No, it's not," but yes, it is. If you're going to use an iPhone, you need a lot of light. If you're going to use a Micro Four Thirds, you need more light. That's just the way it is. So full frame or even the XT3, I'm finding out is just really good. So Micro Four Thirds isn't dead. I think there's still viable. And the G9 just came out, or the G, what is that?
Yeah, I saw that the other day. Something
they just came out with another Micro Four Thirds, so it's not dead. A lot of people can still use those. That's for sure.
Well, I think I'm over my coughing fit. Just.
Are you sure? Are y'all alive?
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's probably about it for today. Stay tuned. I've got Friday's live show. Don't forget the Sony news and rumors on Friday. Next week, we may be on a different day because Aron said he was working on the Tuesday. So I'll keep you up to date. It'll be on Aron's channel next week. So I'll let you know when that's going to come out. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you all in the next video.
Okay, guys, thank you guys for stopping by. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe to David, subscribe to my channel as well. And before we leave, David, the Facebook page, you didn't promote that yet. David's Facebook page is probably the best one to go to if you want to share videos in your work, because we really take pride in getting rid of all the negative people out of there. You could be correctively criticized or whatever, but when it just gets nasty and just dumb, then we just get rid of the people and we don't let them back in. So if you're new to photography, or if you're just sick of all the other Facebook groups of just nonsense, come over here to David's showing it right now. It's called Photography and Videography School. Make sure you type it like that with that little "and" in there so you can find it. Go in there, like that, follow it, or whatever you do. And we'd appreciate that to get more community going in there. Also, I have an Instagram channel, Aron J. Anderson. My YouTube's Aron J. Anderson. And David has an Instagram as well. Go like us and do whatever you do on there. Follow and subscribe. All that good stuff. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out here with us, guys. And if I don't host it next week, because I think I might be out of town, I'll have to check. Maybe we'll do it earlier, or David will host it again. So we'll keep you posted. Videography and Photography and Videography School, that's where we update all this stuff too. So go over there to keep updates and all that good stuff. All right, guys. See you all next week. Oh, and I'll see all of, obviously, all for my Friday Sony live alpha rumors and news. So see you. Catch you, everyone. Bye, guys.